Hello and a very warm welcome. Thanks for tuning in to News 9 Live. 15 months ever since the Ukraine-Russia war broke out. We're yet again standing at a point where things might escalate further. Take a look at this. Moscow has now accused Kyiv of attempting an overnight drone strike on the Kremlin with the aim of killing the Russian President Vladimir Putin. The two Kremlin sides have said that two drones had been used in the attack but were disabled by the Russian defenses. In a statement on its website, the Kremlin said that it considered the attack a planned terrorist act and an attempt on the life of the Russian President Vladimir Putin. On the other hand, Vladimir Zelensky denied Ukraine was responsible. He said, "We don't attack Putin or Moscow, we fight on our territory." The United States Secretary of State, Antony Blinken, he said that the United States could not confirm Russian reports that Ukraine had actually gone on and targeted Putin. Russian shells have gone on to kill another 21 civilians in Ukraine's Kherson only yesterday. Zelensky also is on record for saying that, including hitting of a hypermarket, a railway station and residential buildings, Zelensky said that Ukraine would soon start a counteroffensive on its own soil against Russian forces. Let's not forget, Zelensky was already on a Nordic summit visit, a one-day Nordic trip where he met with the heads of states of all these Nordic nations who have again gone on and said that we will continue to support Ukraine, be it in terms of finance, be it in terms of military, be it in terms of any kind of aid and assistance. We will not go down. Meanwhile, Russia has launched its third nightly round of attack on Kyiv in about 6 days. Authorities in the Ukrainian capital said that with a drone hitting on the building in Dnipro region, Ukraine's Air Force Command has now said that its forces destroyed 21 of the 26 Iranian-made Shahid drones, while Kyiv officials said air defense systems have been eliminated. But on the geopolitical level, on the global scenario, what's really happening? How are people actually reacting to this? And what does this mean for Vladimir Putin and Zelensky? We are joined by Hoisin Oylupinar, who's a researcher at the Institute for Russian and Eurasian Studies at Uppsala University in Sweden, joining us live from Connecticut. Very warm welcome on the show. Major General Dr. PK Chakraborty is going to be with us. Major General Ashwini Sevach, defense expert, is also with us on the broadcast. But before we really open this discussion up and really expand the talking points, let's take a look at how the White House has reacted. What has the advisor to Volodymyr Zelensky said? What has Zelensky said himself, even as Russia comes out and says that it was Ukraine that has gone on and carried out this act of terror trying to kill the Russian president? Well, all right, we'll play those reactions out in just a little while. Let's first go across to Hoisin Oylupinar. Hoisin, how are you looking at the developments? Ever since last night, again, a question has come out whether Zelensky should be, cutting his losses at this point in time. How are you looking at developments? What's the word on the ground when, people, you must have been talking to people in Russia, people from Ukraine as well. What's the word on the ground?
Thank you for inviting me. Good morning. There are a couple of issues to consider here. One scenario is that this attack is a false flag operation organized by the Russian side, and the second is that this is a Ukrainian attack, and the third one we have to consider is that it might be a partisan attack which is organized from inside Russia. Looking at the reactions, we for three of these scenarios we don't have in our hands any hard data. The Russian side did not provide hard proof to show that this is indeed a Ukrainian attack. So looking at some of the possibilities and some of the intentions there might be, we might read into the situation. Looking at the scenario that this might be a Ukrainian attack, indeed, Ukraine has shown during this war that it might penetrate into deeper into the Russian territories. We have some cases, some drone attacks. But on Moscow, there have not been such an attack before. So if somebody argues that this is indeed an Ukrainian attack showing Ukrainian abilities and skills and capacities to organize deep attacks inside of Russia, Ukraine has been showing this. So this is not indeed a necessary show of muscles on the side of Ukraine. Second, looking at the damage there might be on the Kremlin building, this is indeed not organized to cause a damage or even start a fire. Simply Ukrainian side, if organizers be, they could just run the drone inside one of the windows and it would start a fire. This would be giving a better picture of propaganda of Ukrainian military capacities. Or are used for propaganda purposes. We don't see that as well. But on the other hand, if we consider a false flag operation on the side of Russia, there are better arguments. We see immediately in the morning, Russian higher-ups came one after another and claimed that this is an assassination attempt against Vladimir Putin. Well, if there would be such a case, I suppose the Ukrainian side would organize an attack on the residence of Vladimir Putin, not on the dome of one of the buildings in Kremlin area with small-scale drone. So if this is indeed a false flag operation, what benefits it may provide to Russian side? First, Ukraine is in the process of preparing a major campaign to push Russian forces back. Everybody is expecting this major Ukrainian campaign, and the Western partners of Ukraine has been very vocal in terms of telling Ukraine that Ukraine should not use military capacities provided by West to organize deep attacks into the Russian territories. So such an attack, false flag operation would put Ukraine into a difficult position to defend itself in front of the Western partners, weaken its position during the time when fast-track preparations for Ukrainian counterattack is going on.
Yeah,
so
and Hoisin, at the same time, you know, this has been termed as a terrorist attack by the Russian Federation. Doesn't this give them an open hand now? I mean, that's what the Ukrainians are also worried about, that they have deemed this as a terrorist attack, and now the Russians are going to go all guns blazing. Already attacks on Zaporizhzhia and Odessa bombing. I mean, they've continued even in the central city, Kyiv. We're now hearing that city officials have come out and they said that there aren't really any casualties so far, fortunately, but they have amped up their attack. This is going to give them impetus to go on and scale their attacks on Ukraine.
Well, this is one of the arguments that this would allow the Russian side to escalate. Indeed, the Russian side has been escalating over and over again continuously. We have seen in Rus, not a new news to us, for those who are following the events in the war in Ukraine, is that civilian targets has been aimed at, and more civilians are dying because of Russian rockets. So Russia has been escalating freely, only keeping short from using tactical nuclear weapons. So on the side of Russia, there is no real reason to escalate when they have been escalating to the maximum with their all military capacity. I only see one reason why there would be a new sort of escalation, that is attacking Ukrainian government figures to legitimize attacking Ukrainian government buildings. This is one of the issues, aspects of the war Russia was keeping up. So they were hesitating, attacking with rockets on government buildings, trying to kill Zelensky or his government members. So this might be indeed another escalation based on the pretext of this drone attacks on Kremlin.
Certainly, a battle of perceptions at play over here as well. Major General Dr. PK Chakraborty and Major General Ashwini Srivastava, do stay on with us just a little bit more because we'll quickly play out reactions from the White House, the Ukrainian president's advisor, and what Zelensky said when he was on that Nordic visit. He says, we're not attacking anybody, we're fighting on our own land.
So we are aware of the reports, but are unable to confirm the authenticity of them at this time, and so I don't want to get into speculation from here about what happened, but we are indeed aware of the reports. So look, here's what I will say. Since the beginning of this conflict, the United States is certainly not encouraging enabling Ukraine to strike beyond its borders. We've been very clear from here about that. But again, I don't want to get into speculation from here about the authenticity of this report. So I'm just not going to speculate from here.
You know, I can repeat this message, and I think it will at least will be understandable for everybody. We don't attack Putin or Moscow. We fight on our territory. We are defending our villages and cities. We don't have, enough weapon for this. That's why we don't use it anywhere. For us, that is the deficit. We can't spend it. And we didn't attack Putin. We leave it to tribunal.
Щодо дронів над Кремлем. Все достатньо прозоро і все достатньо зрозуміло, але я все ж таки проговорю. По-перше, безумовно, Україна до цього не має жодного відношення. Тому що ніякої воєнної цінності в таких діях не існує. І по-друге, нам безумовно важливо знищувати всі російські військові об'єкти на окупованих територіях для того, щоб пришвидшити деокупацію цих територій. В цьому є стратегічний задум, стратегічні цілі і стратегічне розуміння.
But all right, Major General Dr. PK Chakraborty, the advisor to the Ukrainian president, says that there is no military value in going on and attacking the Kremlin. Would you echo on that particular point? Does that particular point make sense to you?
Well, I don't what you call agree that there is no military value. All right. Let me put it very clearly. Having commanded a brigade of drones and really know how to use them. Now, these are asymmetric weapons. All said and done, I did meet even the Ukrainian Deputy Foreign Minister when she visited New Delhi. And I'm telling you, and even yesterday heard all the reports on CNN, including generals and all. This offensive which they are calling cannot be, even the United States is saying this offensive, the spring offensive, which is supposed to have started quite some time back, but due to weather it's been stopped, is not going to create conditions where the entire Russian, what you call, machinery collapses. It has to be, as per the United States, a continuation of offenses. Now, drones are excellent for asymmetric capability. They are best to be used in a way in which you can deny. I have used them and I do not want to get down how I have used them.
And I'll tell you what, sir, we're playing those visuals out while, as you speak, on the drone attack that led to that fire at the oil depot, that particular train derailment that happened, all being blamed on Ukrainian drones.
Well, what you are saying is absolutely true. Drones have a tremendous asymmetric capability. And believe me or not, the beauty of drones is you can always deny. Pakistan has been sending drones into India and always been denying we have not been doing it. This is the best way. It's after all artificial intelligence which is at play. And you don't need hard evidence. You can keep making statements. I can also make statements. So this is a great thing. See, after all, what is the aim of Ukraine? Do you think Ukraine can get back all the territory? They have attacked the Crimean bridge. They have done many, many actions. Is it possible for them, let's say, even under the present, I'm going to say the documents of the Pentagon have been leaked. Let's be very clear. And Zelensky has felt very bad it's been leaked out. It's come out very clearly in those leaked documents that the capability doesn't exist of the Ukrainians to get on with the Russians. So what do? You do asymmetric capabilities. You may not have wanted to kill Putin, but the mere fact that a drone has been able to reach Moscow, two of them, and been able to create so much of consternation that we are all debating it, that is asymmetric capability. And Zelensky is in Finland while all this is happening. And therefore, I do see there's a lot of military significance to it, because the deeper you can hit,
Right.
I've been always dealing with depth, even in the Indian subcontinent. I never believed in immediate. I said the more deeper you go, the greater success you're going to get, particularly in such situations, where you create fear, you create what you call conditions where people do not know how you're going to behave, and uncertainty. And nobody can blame you. That's the best thing. Keep denying. This is what all asymmetric players do. And I think Ukraine is playing that role very well. And rest, I mean, say false flag, all these issues do exist. How do? Without hard data, which will never be available. You cannot really say what has happened. But definitely, we are all people here to assess what could have happened. How does Russia gain by today having drones coming at the Kremlin? Having been to the Kremlin physically, let me tell you that. Someone who has been to Kremlin, how do you today expect Russia? You just try and enter over there to do such a great, what you call, situation. They have been always, I must say, in this whole war, they have not been creating situations where they could create capabilities of this nature of false flag. They have been undertaking operations where they have always landed up possibly a little behind Ukraine and the West in painting such false flag stories as is being brought out. Insider attack, I don't think it's a capability exists within the Russian, what you call, say, enemies are there of all leaders in every country in the world. But insider capability does not exist for a drone to go into the Kremlin. Definitely, now next you will say, oh, it's such a long distance from Ukraine and how do drones come in? Let me put it to you, suffice to say, drones produce minimum radar signature. The offensive went in at 2:30 or 2:45. That is the time around in the morning. At which time radar operators, normally the time when people need a shake-up, even today doctors, they say that when we are not there, the nurses on the ventilators generally require a shake-up between 2 and 3 in the morning. This is a universally accepted fact. So between 2 and 3, if it has gone in, a radar operator or somebody may not have been that active. And so it has sneaked in. And it's quite possible. I can give number of examples. I don't want to, get into all this. But suffice to say, I think Ukraine definitely, before the offensive, because the offensive is being delayed due to various reasons. So definitely they would like to be in the picture. And this is one way in which Ukraine can come into the picture, and military significance. Obviously, you go and today threaten somebody. Today you look at, the way, when the terrorists attacked the Indian parliament, the whole, nation's armed forces were deployed. And we were in for possibly a major, shall we say, conflict. So this has tremendous significance. So I leave it to you, how you take it. But definitely nobody is going to give you hard data. Nobody is going to give you hard evidence. Nobody speaks the truth. Drones have tremendous, we have to look at the capabilities, and drones have tremendous capability to penetrate and create situations which lead to consternation of the minds. I leave it at here, and I would request you to proceed with the discussion.
Well, thank you so much, Doctor. Major General Sivach, would you like to resonate on what Dr. Chakraborty here is talking about? You know, let's look at the escalation at the global level. I mean, we've seen what drones do to us when we find drones being shot down on the Punjab border. But at the same time, just to, correct Major General Chakraborty over there as well, Zelensky was in Finland. He is now in the Netherlands. But whilst he was in Finland on that Nordic summit, he did speak to, Sauli Niinisto, the president of Finland. And he has signed this new deal to buy their old Hornets because Finland has bought new F-35. So that's another deal. Aviation and aerial support is something that Zelensky has been going pillar to post for, asking for it. Your viewpoint on that, and then we'll play out this funny exchange between Zelensky and Sauli Niinisto. But your initial thoughts first, Major General.
Kabir, as far as this operation, whether it was conducted by Ukraine, whether it is a false flag operation conducted by Russia, you see, there is no evidence on either side. But if you see the logic, I have a different opinion altogether. You see, point today is the Ukraine had no reason to do anything in Kremlin. You know, the point is, as on today, the major offensive is going to take place. It has Ukraine has already got whatever they needed. They have got tanks, Challenger 2, Leopard 2, Abraham M. They have got Big 29, HIMARS. They got M777. They have got 155 guns. So the main aim is to launch a major offensive now in eastern Ukraine, the portion which has been captured by Russia, Donbas, Zaporizhzhia, and Kharkiv. And after having achieved that, then they will go toward Crimea, because Crimea is illegally occupied by Russia in 2014. So therefore, Ukraine had no reason to go in Russia. It will only go on the territory which they have lost. Point number 2 is that let's assume that this is an operation done by Ukraine. But if whatever may be drones, the drones maybe have a very less signature. After all, S-400 air defense system with the Russians are boasting about the one of the best, and India and China and Turkey have bought it. It can detect multiple targets from 600 kilometers and can destroy from 400 kilometers onward. You can't say that 2 drones have managed to come all the way from Ukraine and they have come to Kremlin. So this is all orchestrated by Russia, for the reason being that the Putin is feeling heat. Putin is not getting the achievement which it wanted. People are now going against this war. It wants the people to get into it. It wants the morale of the people to go up. It wants the reason as to why it strike not only Ukraine, also give a strong message to NATO that now once they have been attacked in Kremlin, they will also attack anywhere and everywhere, and they are the victim. So my point is, it is basically a move basically done by the Putin and Russia to create an environment wherein they have reason to now hit back not only in Ukraine, also NATO if required. Second thing is that it will also make sure that the sort of mass appeal which was going of Putin, also the people who are going against this war, they all get together in Russia because they will feel a sympathy that Ukraine is now hitting the power center of Russia. The third thing which is very important is that remember that as far as the Russia is concerned, Russia as on today is also supposed to launch a major offensive, which is a spring offensive, which is delayed because reason is the ice the snow has still not melted, the ground has not become hard. They are going to do somewhere in end of May or June, and this will be an attack from Belarus going toward Kyiv, because they have already accumulated almost 4 to 5 lakhs of troops, Belarus as well as East Ukraine. So they have slightly delayed for that, and therefore they are creating an environment. And if they feel that yes, Ukraine had done, where is the evidence? The evidence is not there. They are just showing 2 drones which are there, and they have been drones have been also degraded and also destroyed before they could hit the target. The possibility, the third possibility which is there, that is it a sabotage action within Russia done somewhere from Russia itself? The chances of that also are slightly there. But all said and done, there is no evidence to either side. But considering all facts and figures, it does not seem that Ukraine stands to gain by doing what Putin is alleging. It looks more logical that why Russia can do by this false flag operation and trying to create an environment wherein it finds that the people of Russia now get together behind Putin. Also, the Putin get an excuse now to strike anywhere and everywhere in Ukraine as well as in NATO. But next point which I feel is, can this war go in a third world war or a nuclear war? I said no. The chances are not there because there is nothing much has happened which give a reason for other country to jump or Russia attacking NATO. If Russia attack any country of NATO, then the Article 5 of NATO is very clear. This is an attack on all NATO countries, and there will be a response, a robust response to Russia. Russia is not capable of fighting. Russia has fought for more than 1 year. It is economically and militarily weak. So therefore, I don't think it will invite a trouble by hitting at a NATO country. As far as the nuclear weapon is concerned, I only have a one observation. I don't think Putin will make a mistake of using a nuclear weapon in East Ukraine. But when it comes to Crimea, that is a red line. That is where is the vein pain. So in case the Crimea is threatened, in case Crimea is in danger, then what can Putin do? No one knows. That is the only thing which has to be factored in by NATO as well as by Americans. After taking East Ukraine, theoretically, if we think, can Ukraine go toward NATO? This is the biggest question mark. As far as Ukraine is concerned, it can go to East Ukraine, not to Crimea, because Crimea is a red line as far as Putin is concerned.
Well, you know, Mr. Oilupinar, we've got two major generals who've put forth for all the viewers out there that, you know, the strength of the drones cannot be undermined. The community and the society and all those war experts out there are certainly divided whether what makes more logic for Ukraine to show their muscle and strength and will then, you know, try and attack the Kremlin, or for Russia to take this stance where they're posturing to be the victims of this attack, rather, this terrorist attack, rather. But look at the perception. I mean, you've got somebody like Vladimir Putin who said that my schedule is not going to change. The Victory Day parade is right around the corner. He's going to now, you know, continue to work from a residence that is outside Moscow. And at the same time, a tram service that has now been inaugurated by Vladimir Putin via virtual conferencing in Mariupol. Now, Mariupol, that, you know, significant port city that Russia annexed early on in September last year when the attacks went on. Already new set of inaugurations, development schemes have been put forth, and the war veterans from World War II have been called in for the inauguration. I mean, what great perception when it comes to the battle of perceptions. Where does this place Zelensky in this battle, who, like I mentioned before, had already met the Nordic you know, leaders. He's already in Netherlands, running pillar to post, quite literally begging for all kinds of war, you know, artillery power or aerial support that he can get at this point. Will this escalate further on in the days to come?
Thank you. The other speakers have military backgrounds, which I don't have, so they have made valuable remarks. Certainly, there will be repercussions, there will be results of this development. But I think the drone attack on Kremlin will not change, negatively impact the popularity of the Ukrainian leader, Vladimir Zelensky. He has been popular, he will remain popular, and this attack, which did not indeed cause a major damage or kill somebody, will not change the Western perception of Ukraine. In this sense, I don't see this as if this is a false flag, I don't see this attack as a strong manipulative operation which would change Western perception of Ukraine negatively. So I believe the Western allies of Ukraine continue to arm Ukraine and prepare Ukraine for the campaign, the offensive, the Ukrainian offensive, which is expected for a while now. And as the other speakers have mentioned, Ukraine is lagging behind in these preparations, and I understand that Ukraine will not start such a campaign unless it is well prepared. So it looks like Ukraine has one major chance to organize a counteroffensive and win it. There will not be any second chances for Ukraine. So they have one only major chance. In the sense, this episode, the attack on Kremlin with drones is not going to change how the war will progress or the political perspectives of the allies on either side, on the Russian side or on the Ukrainian side. It will be remembered as one of the episodes of the war, but I don't see that it will bring a major change. One of the issues that has been raised on the Russian sources some hours ago was that Vladimir Putin's administration will use this drone attacks on Kremlin to initiate a tactical nuclear attack on Kyiv 4 a.m. this morning, Ukrainian time. But that did not happen. And one of the leaks was mentioning that an order has been given to a strategic fighter with two nuclear bombs on it. This did not happen. It didn't come true. If next couple of days we don't see such an escalation from the side of Russia, there will not be any major changes on the progress of the war. This is how I can see. Right. No doubt, these drone attacks and the continuation of such attacks will be used by the Russian domestic propaganda to mobilize, to gather the crowd around the flag. That is increasingly the support for the war in Russia.
Absolutely. I mean, the Russians are going to do all that's possible, and that's exactly what the advisor to the Ukrainian president is also saying at this point in time. But, you know, Hoisin, you've put forth what it means for the geopolitical scenario and at the global level vis-a-vis between these two countries. We've got Major General Chakraborty, who's actually told us very eloquently what it means to be using these drones as well. And, of course, Major General Sivach giving us the logic. So what is more logical? Is it more logical for Ukraine to be showing their muscle strength at this point in time, or more logical for Russia to act and pretend as victims of this quote-unquote terror attack on the Russian president? Well, we're going to try to probe all these developments. On that note, gentlemen, many thanks for joining with us and helping us out with your insightful inputs. Our ears and eyes are on the ground in Ukraine and that war that has gone on for 15 long months. We'll see what happens next. Are we looking at further escalation or not? We're going to find out. Many thanks for watching News 9 Live. Lots more coming right on the other side.